Hey everyone, it's Karen. Okay, I wanted to do a March wrap up, go over my Q1 goals and how I've done on them, and then I'm going to actually start by giving you a little update on the previous time I tried to film this video. As many of you may know, I have diabetes, and a long time ago, I filmed a video about Ozempic and my 10 tips for how to navigate your life if you are on that drug. And I am no longer on it. It made me puke all the dang time. You don't need to know all the details, but the Wall Street Journal found my video, and almost a year ago, basically a reporter reached out to me, interviewed me, blah, 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 blah. I kind of thought the article didn't really go anywhere, or that he decided not to write it. It was basically going to be about Ozempic and social media and influencers and how they influence people to ask their doctors about the drug. And yeah, I basically didn't hear from him in a while, so I kind of thought that the article didn't go anywhere. But that's not true, because a couple weeks ago he contacted me to fact check one more time and just like check in, because it had been a while, and also to schedule a photographer to come to my apartment for a photo shoot, like a portrait and lifestyle photo shoot. So that happened the other day, and part of that photo shoot was me filming this video on camera while she took pictures of me. However, I was kind of nervous and it was crap. So I will put that clip at the very end of this if I still have it on my phone, just because it's cool maybe to hear like her taking pictures of me during that, even though I'm not like, it's not being the official March wrap-up video. So there's that. So let's talk about what I read in March, and if that article comes out soonish, I will link it below, and also possibly link it in my Ozempic video for you guys to see. Anyway, the first book that I read was one of these books that is like the universe sending you the book at the right time. And it's gonna seem really weird, but let me just tell you about it. So the book is The Complete Guide to POI and Early Menopause, and it's by Dr. Hannah Short and Mandy Leonhard. So here's the situation with this. Hannah is friends with Sarah from Your True Shelf. Sarah, a long time ago, mentioned Hannah and her book in one of her videos, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm going to follow Hannah on social media, just because a huge portion of my Instagram is doctors. Like, I just really appreciate getting factual information and being well informed about the human body and about being proactive and preventative about health. Okay, so there's that. So I didn't think anything else of it. I did not think of this book at all since I subscribed to Hannah on Instagram. I apologize, there's a truck coming. I thought this book sounded just fine, but menopause was not really on my mind at all. And even though I'm really interested in health, it just, it's fine. Well, then recently-ish, maybe a couple months ago, maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, Hannah started following me on Instagram from her personal account, not her doctor one that I had followed. And so that kind of triggered her in my mind again. And I was like, first of all, should I follow her on her personal page? Yes, if it has like travel, books, you know, if we have similar interests, I'm in. And if she's friends with Sarah, maybe we have similar interests. Her Instagram is the best. Like, maybe don't stalk her, but like, there's travel, there's cats, there's like everything, there's food, there's everything that meets all of my wildest hopes and dreams on her Instagram. Anyway, so seeing her Instagram reminded me, hey, she wrote a book, and hey, also, by the way, I think that I might be headed in the direction of perimenopause. I know it's a bit early, but I also know that you can have symptoms for around 10 years, and I'm noticing the beginning stages of these symptoms. So I ordered her book. In the meantime, while I was waiting for her book to arrive, Hannah and I kind of became friendly-ish on Instagram. And then I read her book. It blew my absolute mind. And also in that time, I messaged my doctor to be like, hey, by the way, because we email our doctors all the time here, I think I might be in perimenopause. And I just thought she would be like, okay, cool. Good job. Good job. But she did not. She was like, hey, why don't you come in for an appointment? So I did. Loads of labs, more labs than I've ever had in my entire life. And it turns out that I am starting the process of going through these things. So right now, all my lab values are kind of on the fence where we're not sure if it's POI or if it is perimenopause. If it's perimenopause, it is very, very early. So unless it took the whole 10 years, I probably would be headed into early menopause. So all that to say that basically, I love that this book just came to me in the very right moment. And I have gifted a copy to my doctor, and I have told like 2 other doctors about it. And I've told all my friends about it, and it's basically the best. So this book is basically like a guide to POI, premature ovarian insufficiency, and also early menopause. But if you are close to perimenopause, or if you're just curious about what it's going to be like you should also read this book because it's a good just overview on everything. And I did a full review of it, so I don't want to talk about it more. I mainly wanted to share the synchronicity of it coming into my life at this very moment. The next book was my second Tana French book. We read this because we had a family book club that took place on St. Patrick's Day. And so it was my idea to read an Irish author, and this is who was selected. I was honestly looking forward to this book because I just wanted a good like literary crime situation. And I had read another book by her. It was crap, but everyone loves her so much that I thought I would give her another shot. And I was really excited for this one. And I did not like it. I thought it was so boring. And I am good with slow-paced crime mystery books, literary. No. I had to like bribe myself with tacos in order to read this one, and I just didn't like it. So this is going to go back to the bookstore. Then I read another horrible book. So you can see how my March is starting off amazing and then going real bad real quick. So the next book I read was Aspergirls. And the reason I read this one is because I was reading another book. Dang it, what is it called? Strong Female Character. In Strong Female Character, which I was listening to at the time she mentioned this book, I read it. It was horrible. It gave a lot of traits. It's nonfiction. It gave a lot of traits about what it's like to be a girl or a woman with Asperger's. Really good overview. Really good, like, at giving information that is nuanced and shows, like, how it's different than, like, what people stereotypically think of as autism. But the author seemed so old-fashioned. Like, I don't know how old she is or where she grew up, but she was saying, like, so many times in the book, like, girls with autism act like this, but boys would prefer them to act like this, and the social norms is that boys expect them to act like this, but they act like this. And I was like, girl, where are you coming from? I don't understand. And there were so many points in that where like you wanted the book to be really like fiercely feminist and really empowered, and it was quite the opposite. So not a fan. Then I read Thin Air. This one was recommended by Louise Savidge, and it was her favorite book of January, I think. So one mini project I have going for myself is that I am going to try and read her favorite book of the month every month. But this is January's. So this is about a medic who is going on an expedition up like Kanchenjunga. It's the 3rd tallest mountain in the world. It's very difficult to summit. And it is just his story of going up the mountain, but it's creepy and ominous, and there's a ghost or so. And I think it also deals with the theme of like whose stories deserve to be told and who has the right to tell them, that sort of stuff. So like definitely super good vibes while also having that like literary aspect where you could dive deeper as well. Then I read Strong Female Character and I listened to it. That is by Fern Brady, who is coming to Chicago soon, so it would be cool to see her, but I don't think I'm going to. That was a memoir basically about her life, but also about being a woman with autism, and yeah, I liked it. I don't think that I liked it as much as everyone else did. Like, I feel like everyone hyped it so much. But if you are going to read it, definitely listen to audios because she reads it. And obviously that makes it way better. There are parts I was more engaged with than others. But overall, I think it was like maybe 3.5 or 4 stars. I got to my World War I little thing that I did where I paired a fiction and a nonfiction. So I paired this nonfiction book with this fiction book. Only this one like sucked me into it, and I was planning to go back and forth between the two, and that did not happen. So this is about a famous plastic surgeon during World War I, and just about how much plastic surgery developed during the war, but it's also just about how horrible the war was. You learn a lot more about the war in general that I didn't know before. And yeah, I think I talked about this one quite a bit in my vlog that was called like something about comparing World War I books. But yeah, definitely super high recommend and a book that I'm going to keep on my shelf. So far I'm keeping these ones. Then I read In Memoriam, which is about 2 boys who are very fond of each other, and they are in a British boarding school back in the day during World War I, and one of the boys has a lot of pressure to enlist in the war. His family was getting judged based on their background, and so his mom wanted him to enlist so that people wouldn't judge their family so much and would treat them with more kindness because, well, they have a soldier in the war, so stop treating me like this. And I just thought that was incredibly selfish of the mom. I also think she probably didn't really know what she was getting her son into, but like, oh my gosh. Anyway, he ends up enlisting, and it is about the letters that are being written back and forth between the 2 boys, and about the one's experience in the war, and about how their lives unfold, separately and at times together. And it's just really good. Definitely one of my top books of the year so far. I read Pet, and that book was amazing as well. I also think Louise Savidge read this one as well, but I think she read it last year. So I feel like this should just be sponsored by Louise Savidge. Anyway, this book was amazing. So I read it because I'm a teacher, and Louise Savidge said that as a former educator, are you ever really a former educator? As an educator, she also appreciated this. It tells the story of a girl who is in school, and her classroom teacher has some weird vibes about her. She has teachers' pets that are quite obviously the teacher's pet. Like, she kind of picks kids to be her favorite and to have special privileges, and she kind of switches them quite suddenly. So one kid will be her favorite, and all of a sudden it's like they're ghosted, and now she has a new favorite. And there also has been some other crazy stuff happening in their classroom, like objects are just gone, like missing, and no one really knows what's going on. And the cover of this pen is because our main character had her mom die fairly recently of breast cancer. And this pen was super special to her because it was from her mom and cannot be replaced because her mom is dead. And she doesn't have loads of things, physical objects to hold on to that can remind her of her mom. But one day the pen goes missing. And so it's not about the pen, but it just plays a big role in the story for sure. And it's just very creepy, unsettling, ominous, and everything that you would love a book to be. Next, and finally, I read Minor Detail. It was boring. I wanted to love it. I did not. And that's basically all the books that I read in March. So let's get to how I did with quarter one, because I got really excited towards the end of March when I realized, oh my gosh, like it's almost the end of quarter one. I can check in on my goals. So I started a bullet journal situation for 2024, and I have done them in the past and I always abandon them. That has basically happened again. I have a little tracker for all my physical books that I've read off my shelves. No, I've read way more than this. I've not updated this at all. I have a little bookish balance, which attempts to show where I am at this point in the year. And that also has not really been tracked. The in and out situation has not been happening. However, I have been good about the balance part. So I think that in February, I went down 93 books. And then in March, I went down 3 more. So since the start of the year, not including April, I think that I am down 96 books. So that's cool, just not as complete as what I wanted it to be in here. Then I have a wish list that is not filled out. Okay, this is the part that I have been good at. And so I kind of feel like I should just keep this bullet journal for like multiple years and just do something super basic and just stick with that. So this is quarter one, January, February, and March. My first goal was to have a no-buy quarter. That's not happened. I just X'd it out. The X here does not mean I've done it. It means I've abandoned it. Okay. Read all my books from 2021. So a while ago, I basically destroyed my entire apartment to get all my books I have not read but own off my shelves into the middle of the floor, sort them by year, and try and tackle 1 year at a time to get rid of the books on my shelf by reading them, but also not being intimidated. And by breaking it into years, I would have a smaller section of books to work with. Like, for example, I could focus only on 2021 books. Also, did not happen. Abandoned. I can't be limited like that. I just want to mood read. Okay. Then the next thing is I said that I wanted to read 5 books by Black authors. I've read 7. So that should make me feel pretty good that I've surpassed my goal. But I actually don't really feel like I've read that many. So I feel like this was a baby goal and that is still a baby achievement, but it is how it is. And then I wanted to read 5 books by indie presses, and I didn't keep track of this at all or like pay attention. I just basically counted after the fact, and I ended up reading 10. So that's cool. No effort or extra work on this one. That's just, it is what it is. So what I need to do, even though we're quite a ways through April now, is I need to kind of figure out, what do I want for quarter 2? What do I want that to look like? Do I even want goals, honestly? Because it's the middle of April. We have the end of the school year, and June I'll basically be in the UK the whole time. So yeah, I'm not really sure about this. Let me know if you have any ideas or tips. But yeah, I just want to be gentle to myself because, quite honestly, reading has kind of fallen to the back burner. I have been focusing much more on just myself as a person and on self-care and on hobbies that are not reading and just on a bunch of stuff. So I'm still reading. I still love to read. It's just I have not read a single book in April yet. So maybe I just want a gentle quarter. I don't know. Anyway, I will put the clip, if I can find it, of the girl taking my pictures during me attempting to film this video. But let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you soon. I hope you had a great reading month in March, and hopefully April is even better. Hey everyone, it's Karen. So today is April 8th, and I felt like it is probably time for me to do my wrap up of what I did in March. So March was not the best reading month for me. didn't really get to a lot of good books, and I didn't read a lot, but the beginning was very good and the end was very good. So let me get to the books and show you what I read. So the first book that I got to was this book by my friend Hannah, and it is called The Complete Guide to POI and Early Menopause. So POI stands for primary ovarian insufficiency, and early menopause is just you going through menopause early. Even if you don't have either of these things, this book is awesome just so that you know what is headed your way, and it's done in such an amazing way, just really engaging and super interesting. Like, did you know that your tears contain cortisol? Or did you know that climate change impacts how early women are going through menopause? Like, all this stuff is just mind-blowing and was all in this book. So even if you are not fitting into either of these categories, you should still definitely read it. And also, Hannah is an amazing person, so that's another reason why you should read it. Then I read my second book by Tana French. This was for our family book club, and I did not like this book. It was so boring. And the first book I read by her, I also thought was boring. So 2 for 2, boring, not my jam. I'm sorry if you like her. Then I read Thin Air, which was recommended by Louise Savidge. This book was amazing. I feel like no one has heard of it before. This is about a guy who is going on this expedition as a medic, and they are going to be climbing this super tall mountain. It's one of the top 3 in the world. I don't remember the name of it, so I'll put it below. But he basically starting off his journey by visiting this guy that was a super famous part of this previous expedition where basically everyone died except for 2 people, and he was one of the survivors. So he meets with this guy, and it's just very ominous, and just like asking him all these questions about why he's taking this particular path up the mountain and all this stuff. They end up starting their journey, and things go wrong, obviously, quite quickly. He hears screaming at night that no one else is hearing. There is a ghost or 2, but I think that the book really dives into storytelling and whose story you have a right to tell, and how you also have the right to tell your story in the way you want to tell it. Super ominous, super amazing. I loved it. Want me to keep going?
You're good.
Stop?
Yeah.
Okay.